shine on Happy Camper Life. We're loving, living, and learning online on Happy Camper Life.
Hi guys, I'm Courtney, and I'm so excited to welcome you to my camp, the podcast that's all about camp. Now, anyone could tell you who knows me that the one place I love to be is my camp. And if I can't be there, then the one thing I want to do is talk about it. So welcome to my camp where we talk camp, and I'm really excited to introduce today's guests. And before I even introduce, I just have to tell a little quick story. So who our guest today is Tracy and Andy Bachman, owners and directors of Camp Highlands for Boys in Wisconsin, right? Wisconsin?
Yep.
Awesome. And Tracy and I went to college together. And not only did we go to college together, but we worked together at Chili's. And Tracy, I just want to say, when I was in college and it was the summer and I was performing in the St. Augustine Community Choir during the summer and nobody was coming to hear me perform, you came by yourself with a little bouquet of flowers and a ribbon, and you came to hear me sing and perform, and I am so ever grateful. So I just want to say thank you so much for that. But anyway, so on to the bigger and better. Welcome to my camp, and tell me a little bit about your camp.
All right. Well, Camp Highlands was founded in 1904. It was kind of the brainchild of the University of Chicago Lab School. The parents approached the director and asked him to provide the boys a real wilderness experience to get the boys out of the city, the hustle and bustle of Chicago during the summers. And so that first summer, he purchased a plot of land up on Plum Lake in Sainer, Wisconsin, took 8 boys and 10 staff up, and they cut down trees and made a little area to live and went on canoe trips. And that was the first season. And within 5 years, they had over 100 campers coming.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just absolutely amazing, and clearly meeting a need that people saw, and it's been going ever since. So my family.
And you guys are. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm third generation Highlands. My dad started coming to camp when he was 10 years old, and my mom actually started coming to camp when she was 3 years old. My grandfather wanted to be a camp counselor. And so he would bring his 3 daughters and his wife up to this big boys camp and would stay there for the summer. And so then my mom and my dad met at camp when they were both staff members. So they are a real life camp romance. I know that you know that there are plenty of those that tend to happen. And yeah, the rest is kind of a magical history. So I've been there every single summer of my life. As a camper, and then as a staff member, and then assistant director, and now working as the director, the president, and the executive director of Highlands. And Trace?
Yeah, so I started coming to camp when Andy and I were dating. My friend Liz and I drove up on a road trip, and we stayed kind of just off of the property in his uncle's house, and I snuck into camp one night to listen I wasn't supposed to be there. Andy's mother had really told me not to be in camp during bedtime, and I did not listen to that, and I went into camp, and I eavesdropped on Andy's putting his cabin to bed. He was the head counselor of his division, and he had a cabin full of 11-year-old boys, and I listened to him read stories to them and then play guitar and sing to them. And I thought, this is the father of my children. I am going to marry this man. And by the way, this whole camp thing is pretty amazing. So I was completely sold. We'd only been dating for maybe 3 months or something. And after that, it was a done deal for me. I come from a military background. So the community part of camp really appeals to me as just on a really on a vibration level. I love living in community. I love being part of something bigger than myself. So Highlands was that for me.
And what I think is interesting too about your camp is that because it was started in 1904, I mean, you are one of the oldest camps in the United States. And I think that's really amazing. And as I've on my own learned more about your history, is that I feel like so much of of your history and really kind of play into the decisions that you even make today. Like your bunks, if I'm not mistaken, do not have electricity or running water, correct?
We don't even have screens on the windows. Well, I mean, the foundational philosophy was to give boys a real wilderness experience, and that's exactly what we do. You'd be amazed at how easy it is for the boys to make the transition from having their iPod or their iPad in front of their face, 17 hours a day, to suddenly having all of that disappear. And then the imagination and the fun and free play that just comes up is just absolutely incredible. So
It's almost as if they're starving for it, like they think they want it, but once it's gone, it's like this thirst for everything else that they've been avoiding because they've been, doing this for the last, for the last 10 months. So have you ever had conversations about putting in electricity and running water? How come you continue to not do those things today?
It's just part of who we are. I think that we
Okay.
take pride in being unplugged, and I think that we, I think it's just. Don't get me wrong. There are places where there is electricity. We do it.
Of course.
Our facility with hot water and lights and all those good things. So it's it's rustic, but it's not that rustic. It's
Right. What? Right. But these also. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that, our alumni would riot if we put lights and plumbing in the cabins. I mean, really, so much of it is like bragging rights. Like they come back and they're, well, it gives you this sense of I can live, of self-reliance and self-assurance. Like you can live like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a point of pride.
So I feel like this is a really great kind of way to talk about, Camp Highlands, like values, because I feel like the no electricity, these bragging rights, these self-reliance, like all kind of play into the values. So what are the values that you really teach and that like encompass a Highlands man?
That's a great question. Each camp has their unique sets of mottos and values, and we are advocates for any and all camp anywhere in the universe. So but I think what makes us unique, or perhaps a little bit different, is we have a foundational motto, which is I'm third. And a lot of YMCA camps have picked up on that, other camps have, but the basic philosophy is that, we try to live with God or your values first. And, we have boys who have come from Muslim backgrounds, from Jewish backgrounds, agnostic backgrounds, the whole gamut of spirituality. And so, but we know that everyone was raised with some aspect of values. So we say, put your values first, put the other person second, and that means I'm third. So that's kind of the way in which our daily operations happen. And then we have the backbone of our philosophy are our camper qualities. And so we have these 18 words that are up on the wall above Ellsworth, our moose in the dining hall, that are, just, I think, terrific motivators for living a better life. Words like being dependable, consideration, having pep, camp spirit, good manners. You'd be amazed how many boys don't know how to work their knife and fork. Humility is one that we actually added in the last few years because we saw a need in culture and in society to kind of inspire a little bit more humility in the world. And so we added that, but that's only the most recent addition that we've done in a long time. But our honor camper qualities, I think, are the backbone of our philosophy. And every Sunday morning, we gather together for some shared thoughts around the values of our community and who we are, as you said, as Highlands men. And my father actually brought a poem / prayer to camp that we call the Highlands Prayer, that talks about being a worthwhile man.
So what is it, Andy? Let's hear it. Let's hear this Highlands Prayer.
Okay, it's God, give me a worthwhile man. Give me the strength to stand for right when other folks have left the fight. Give me the courage of the man who knows that if he will, he can. Teach me to see in every face the good, the kind, and not the base. Make me sincere in word and deed. Blot out from me all shame and greed. Help me to guard my troubled soul by constant, active self-control. Clean up my thoughts, my speech, my play, and keep me pure from day to day. Will make of me a worthwhile man. So there you go. That's us.
I was watching some of your videos on your website yesterday and like crying. I get very emotional. And I just think one of the most amazing things about camp in general, and especially your camp, is how timeless it is. You know, you can take a photograph from this past summer, 2021, and compare it to a black and white from when you first opened, and it's the same. Like, camp is so timeless, and it's just so, it just makes me very emotional. But let's get on to like some fun stuff, right? Like, we could talk about values and all this, but like, so, you know, you, after all these years, you have some really fun camp traditions. So what is one of your favorite camp traditions?
Well, one of my favorite camp traditions is Sunday night sing, which is Sunday night. We sing on Sunday nights. Truth in advertising there. But we, how old is the slide projector?
It's from the 40s.
A 1940s lantern slide projector. It's giant, you know, it's 2 feet long. And we have a boy that gets trained by an older boy, and so it gets the knowledge on how to work the slide projector and how to order the slides, and that all happens. And we have a piano player who comes in, and the boys and everyone in camp sings like at the top of our lungs for a good hour on Sunday night. And it is the most like fun and loud and crazy time. It's my favorite thing in the whole wide world.
The first.
So what's your favorite camp song? What's your favorite camp song for singing?
Okay, so Andy was getting ready to say that the first half of singing is fast. They're all fast songs.
And the goofy songs, you know, Johnny Vorback, the butcher who grinds all the neighborhood cats and dogs into sausages, you know, that's a great song.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites from the fast side. And from on the slow side, Edelweiss, or
for me, it's the Highlands hymn, which the words were written by the director, his wife, 2 directors ago, the guy who ran camp from 1913 to the 60s. But it's set to the tune of Finlandia. And so I can't hear that song in the world without getting choked up and singing the verses of the Highlands hymn. So that's a special one for me. One of my favorite traditions, we celebrate our camp birthday in the middle of our second session. And, you know, as all camps do, we divide into 2 teams, and the 2 teams compete. But we have this event called the Steeplechase. It is like a 2-hour and 20-minute race where you run your team flag all over camp, all through the wilderness around us. You canoe it, you paddle it, you stand up paddleboard it, you do every activity that we have at camp. Every boy participates, and it is just one of the most exciting events that happens every year. And it's so cool. So
and you do that to celebrate Highland's birthday?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. We do something similar at my camp, but we call it like the Apache race. So, which is a really great segue into like question of camp speak, right? If you could tell me a sentence or tell me something that only a Highlands man would understand.
Oh, okay, well, I'll go. There's a phrase that goes, race it, crepe it up.
No,
crepe it, race it up. Sorry, I had it backwards. crepe it, race it up. That's like the dumbest, weirdest, most random thing that starts a race for Games on the Hill.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a tradition.
Okay.
Another thing I love, our staff, we have just the most incredible staff, but you know, as all staffs do, they sprinkle our Highlands philosophy and our words into the teachings that they're doing and the activities throughout the day. But often you'll hear them say, perseverance, boys, perseverance. The word perseverance. For some weird reason, everyone has been saying perseverance. They know it's not the right way to say it, but they've been saying that for generations. So that's always kind of a fun and goofy thing. And we horse and goggle. Do you guys horse and goggle?
No, we don't horse and goggle, but maybe we should. Like, I'm open for new things. What does that mean?
Horse and, so like if there's one extra dessert at the end of the noontime meal, then the boys will horse and goggle. You know, you pick one person you start with and you go, ein, zwei, drei, horse and goggle. And everyone throws out a number between 1 and 5. And then you count the numbers up, and then you count all the way around. And then whoever it lands on, that person wins. So that's a horse and goggle.
I love that because at my camp, we don't we give turn in the extra dessert. So maybe
What?
some horse and
Oh,
goggle at least at
no.
the at least at the division leader table. We will horse and goggle it out for some desserts. But that is awesome. I was thinking about like what would our from my camp, and I was like more of like something I would say to a camper like, hey, hey, go to the HC and see if there's a DL and there and ask them where to find the night bites, you know, like little things like that, you know, if you weren't at camp, you would have no idea what any of those things are, which in the HC happens to be where I'm sitting right now. The head counselor cabin where all of the action happens a lot during the day at camp. So that is really cool. But we talked about birthdays. How do Highlands men celebrate their birthday at camp? What do you guys do?
We do everything we can to make it like the most special day of the year. We usually at breakfast, we'll give them a birthday button so that everyone will know that it's their birthday. We learned this at Disney. It's genius.
Right.
So that boy, throughout the course of the day, every single person in camp is going to be like, hey, Billy, happy birthday. And then we do angel food cake.
Yes.
Which is like this big and this wide and with a sparkler. And
and it's angel food cake because that was Andy's dad's favorite cake, and Andy's dad's birthday was in the summertime at camp, and so that's like just a thing. It's angel food cake. End of story.
Yeah.
All right. And that's another amazing Highlands tradition too, right? I wonder how many of your alumni now are having angel food cake for their own birthdays. Nobody
really likes angel food cake that much.
I love angel food cake.
I don't know.
You know, you guys do have, in the conversations that we've had, Tracy, an incredible staff. Like, you talk about your staff. I know this past summer, I reached out like, oh, how's your staff? And you said, well, you had 100% staff return rate. And what I think is so incredible, and Andy, you mentioned this, talking about how your staff like sprinkles in their knowledge from Highlands when they're doing their teaching. And the reason why they're able to do this is because like 95% of your staff or your counselors are alumni, like are Highlands campers, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, we're very fortunate to have almost 100% return rate with our staff. Last year, the staff of 76, we had 2-3 people who had never been there before, and they were our kitchen staff. Yeah, we're very fortunate. So I was just thinking about this, you know, last summer, I was sitting at, you know, the lunch table, and there's the guy who was my counselor when I was 16 years old. There's the guy who was my counselor when I was 11 years old, and the guy who was my counselor when I was 8 years old. You know, our oldest counselor is 83 years old. You know, we of course have a fair spattering of 19 and 20 and 21-year-old guys. We need those guys. You know, they bring the pep, the energy. They can be super goofy. But then we also are really very fortunate to have a great group of middle-aged and older guys who bring some substance, who definitely bring the knowledge, the historical perspective, and the just absolute love of Highlands to the table. And so we're very fortunate to have the staff that we do.
Because it's, you know, my experience too, when you're dealing with staff that are ex-campers, they are the hardest working. They're so dedicated, and they get it, you know, like you talk about the pep and the spirit. You just, when you have a staff that has been a camper there before, it's just like none other. You know, I was not a camper, and I'm the older staff, and I just see it, and it's just so amazing. And I'm so appreciative to these 19-year-old kids that were ex-campers that just, you know, have it in their soul, and you cannot put a price on that. So you guys are really like, thumbs up, cheers, raise my glass to you guys. Like, that's really, really, really incredible. So let me ask you, what is your this one time at my camp story? I know you have one.
Oh, geez.
We were talking about this morning.
Pick a season. Last year, I mean, this was delightful. Our new laundry outfit quit halfway through the second week. That was interesting. You know,
Yeah.
I spent 3 days running between the 6 different washing machines in camp, you know, doing all sorts of laundry for all sorts of boys and staff. That was fun. But do you want more like that, or do you want more, hey, this is fun?
Anything that's like, what's your story? Like this one time at my camp, like funny, something that maybe was, like you said, stressful at the time, and now you like doing the laundry, but you can look back and go, oh yeah, that was fun.
That was the joy of last summer. And we typically throughout the course of a season, we'll get maybe a sprained ankle or something along those lines. Last year we had 3 broken bones. I think it was pretty obvious that the boys were just dying to be back together and dying to play. And so they came and they were playing hard and they were having so much fun. But that doesn't happen very often. When it does, of course, we swoop in, we take care of it. Over half our staff are trained lifeguards. We've got wilderness first aid. Our caretaker is also a paramedic, and the local fire chief and his wife is also a paramedic. So, we have 2 RNs on staff. So like we swoop in, but it's those quick moments that just, that'll get you.
100, 100, because they happen like that, right?
Now tell a fun story. You can't end on that.
No,
even like when you were a camper, Andy.
Yeah.
Come on, I'm sure you were up to some naughty business as a camper.
I will not tell you
Come
any
on,
of that.
come on.
Well, here was a funny thing that happened last summer. One of our new campers, he's 8 years old, I think, asks a billion questions and just kind of ponders life in a way, sort of like a 87-year-old man would, but he's in the body of an 8-year-old.
Right.
And he's like 3 feet tall, and he's looking up at me, and he just has this look, and I'm like, hey buddy, what's going on? He said, what do you do? And I said, well, what do you mean, what do I do? I'm the camp director. And he said, well, what does that mean? Like, what do you do? And I was
That's
like,
a loaded question.
I don't know. I pay the bills. I walk around. I take pictures. I'm observing the staff. Like, what do I do?
Doing laundry. All right,
Laundry.
You're doing
Right.
your laundry, kiddo.
Yeah. I
Right.
fixed the plumbing last week. I mean, but it's fun how, and this is a reason my grandfather loved camp, because when you can see the world through the perspective of the eyes of an 8-year-old, and you're approachable enough that they're going to ask you a question like that, it gave my grandfather, a different way to look at who I am and what I do. And there's such joy in that, it's what a gift, what a real gift it is. So.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said about you as an individual if an 8-year-old child has that feeling of comfort to come up and ask you questions like that. So good job. Good job.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So we are almost at the end here, and I want to end by playing one of my favorite camp games. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So one of my favorite camp games is the 7-second challenge. Are you familiar with the 7-second challenge, Andy and Tracy?
No.
All right. Well,
Stress me out though.
all right. I am going to give you a number of little tasks or questions, and you will have 7 seconds to come up with an answer. So let me put on my little reset. All right. So 7 seconds. Name all 17, 18 qualities of a camper, starting with pep. Go.
Go.
Humility, perseverance, kindness. No.
Clean thoughts and speech.
Wah.
Dependable, consideration, camp spirit, willingness and helpfulness. We said pep, honesty, generosity, sportsmanship.
Clean thoughts,
manship.
clean thoughts, clean speech.
Clean thoughts.
I like that one. I like clean thoughts.
Cleanliness.
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 Yeah. Initiative, perseverance.
Yeah.
Is that it?
I honestly, I stopped counting. Like I said, when I was doing my research, the first one said pep, and I was like, that's it. You had me at pep. Pep in your step.
That's my favorite.
Oh, like some of these kids are like, my own children, especially, like on slow motion, like we need some pep. So I really like that. All right, last one. 7 seconds and 7 seconds to sing your alma mater. Go.
To what?
Do you have like an alma mater, your camp song?
Oh yeah.
All right, go. Tracy, you're on.
Oh, sing it to me.
Camp Highlands, we're true to you. Wisconsin's Highlands ever dear. Camp Highlands, we're true to you.
Cause we are loyal, never fear.
Rock, rock, Camp Highlands, we're true to you. We greet you now in cheer and song. With deeds of worth and tested courage strong. Camp Highlands, we're true to you. And then we keep going. Do you want us to keep going? Highlands, Highlands. And then we start jumping around and then we start shouting.
Oh, yeah, feel it. Be the hype man. You're the hype man.
Hey, Camp Highlands.
And then it goes on and on.
I'm freaking out.
Oh, I love it. Oh my God. Well, thank you guys so much. And I want to end with a little silly song for my listeners that if you go to my camp, you might know, and maybe only if you were in my division last year. So it is very silly, and it was made original song by a friend of mine, and it goes, I want to eat poop on a plate for night bites with a dish on the side and a skittle in the middle and a cherry on top. Woo! And see you next week. Peace. I'll see you next time at my camp. The door's always open in the HC.
That was fun.
Yay!
Take a moment to shine.